What's up guys, CJ here and welcome back to another all-new Hybrid News Now, where we'll get you caught up on all the biggest news from around the entertainment world. In today's top stories, Transformers: The Last Knight debuts to franchise lows at the box office. The young Han Solo movies found a replacement director faster than Han made the Kessel Run, and some new details about the Judge Dredd TV series, including when we might be able to see it. But in that top story, this might come as a shock to you. Brace yourself. I'm not sure you're ready for this. Transformers: The Last Knight might be in some box office trouble. The fifth Transformers film brought in a meager $15.6 million in its opening day yesterday, and that was enough to snatch the crown for worst opening day in the series' history. And some of this can of course be chalked up to the fact that it's opening on a Wednesday as opposed to a Friday, which most films do. And I'm sure that's responsible, at least in part, for some of the dip, but there's another side of that story that still makes this look not so good. You see, this isn't the first Transformers film to debut midweek. Transformers: Dark of the Moon did that too back in 2011, and it still managed to bring in $37 million. We're not really sure how this bodes for the rest of the week. I mean, no one can predict that, but initial projections slated the movie for $75 million in the opening weekend from Friday to Sunday. That doesn't include this midweek stuff. So expect it to pick it up a little, but to match those projections, I think it'd need to pick it up a lot. Of course, given all the negative reviews, it's probably going to be an uphill battle just to hit that initial projection of $75 million. But in the meantime, let me know in the comment section down below what you think the film is going to bring in its opening weekend. Moving on to our next story of the day, we've got an update on that young Han Solo movie drama as the film has found its replacement director. The entertainment world was stunned earlier this week when the film's original directors, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, suddenly departed the project with just a little over 3 weeks left in filming. Of course, we found out the very next day that the two were actually fired by Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy because of some major creative differences and just general cognitive dissonance between the directors and the studio. And it's hard to remember a situation even remotely like this. Honestly, the only one that comes to mind is Superman 2, when Richard Donner was removed in the middle of production as well, but that's 37 years ago now. Long story short, this just doesn't usually happen. When all was said and done, though, their replacement was found just 2 days after they were let go, and it's Ron Howard. Yes, that Ron Howard. Bryce Dallas's dad, Opie from The Andy Griffith Show, Richie from Happy Days. Of course, he's also an Academy Award-winning director behind films like A Beautiful Mind, which he won that Oscar for, The Da Vinci Code, Apollo 13, and even TV shows like Arrested Development. But this still might seem like a bizarre pick to some fans, myself included. I'm not counting myself out of that, because despite this ridiculously impressive resume, and he does have a ridiculously impressive resume, he's never really dealt with anything like Star Wars before. Never quite so big a franchise. In fact, I don't think he's really ever worked on a franchise. And then beyond that, he's never really done anything in sci-fi before either. And another little mysterious tidbit in this whole dramatic saga of Lord Miller leaving the project is that Howard's name almost immediately, despite the fact that he's never really done anything like this before, his name almost immediately popped up as a potential replacement. So I guess I'm hoping somebody asks that during the press junket. But really, I love Ron Howard. I love his movies. I'm really curious to see what exactly he's going to bring to the last 3 weeks of shooting, and the reshoots, of course, a little bit later in the summer. He's about as far from Lord Miller as you can get, so what he's going to bring to the film is really something to look out for. Let me know what you think of the pick in the comment section down below, but I'm going to end this story with a fun fact. Ron Howard does have a Star Wars connection. It's kind of tangential, but it is there. You see, back in 1973, Ronnie Howard starred in a little film called American Graffiti. It was a coming-of-age story directed by this indie filmmaker no one had really heard of yet, just a couple of years out of college, really, named George Lucas. Onto that last story, though, we have some of our first details ever about the Judge Dredd TV series. In an interview with SFX Magazine, Rebellion Development CEO John Kingsley shed a little bit more light on the series, including some details about tone, the benefits of longer-form storytelling, and even when we might get to see it. And speaking about tone, Kingsley shared some really interesting information, and it sounds like the show will be very different than any version of Dredd we've seen on screen, but maybe a little closer to the original comics. Dark fantasy elements are one area that would be great to explore. The show will combine the macabre with the insane and the lighthearted. It's a big place after all, with 400 million stories to tell. And if you've ever read some of those classic Dredd comics, you know that yes, they were dark and gritty, something the movies have definitely brought to the screen already, but they were equal parts sheer insanity, humor, and yes, even some fantasy elements at times. Kingsley also stressed that the size of the property and the world that Dredd inhabits makes it hard to squeeze basically all of that, or even a good chunk of that, into one 2-hour package, something that a TV series definitely isn't going to struggle with. As for when we might get to see the show, it's unfortunately still a ways off. The CEO predicts that we'll see it in about 2 years, but since it's so early in production, I mean, it could either accelerate rapidly or slow way down. Let us know in the comment section down below what you thought of all of our stories today, but that's going to do it for me here. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to smash that like if you like what you saw, subscribe for more great content every single day, and consider turning on your notifications to be alerted every time we upload a new video. Signing off, this is CJ, and I'll see you next time.